In the far reaches of the galaxy, where stars blinked like sleepy eyes and nebulae curled through space like ribbons of colored smoke, the elven cruiser Starblossom drifted silently. It was a ship unlike any human design, sleek, organic, built not of steel but of living crystal and woven light. Its corridors hummed with soft music and its walls pulsed gently as if breathing. Aboard this vessel lived Lily, one of the last true elves of Silthera. Lily was tall and graceful, with silver hair that shimmered like morning frost and eyes the color of deep forest pools. Her pointed ears twitched at every whisper of the void, and her hands moved with quiet precision as she tended to the ship's heart core. But what made her truly different from the rest of her kind was her bond with dragons. Real, living cosmic dragons that swam through space like whales through ocean currents. Her dragon, Ember, was small for his kind, about the size of a large wolf, but his presence filled any room. His scales shifted from deep violet to warm gold depending on his mood, and his wings, when unfurled, glowed like captured sunlight. He was playful, clever, and fiercely loyal. Right now he lay curled at Lily's feet on the observation deck, tail flicking lazily as he watched the stars. They were hiding. Silthera, the elven homeworld, had fallen decades ago to the Krog, a brutal, warlike species that valued strength above all else. They had heard rumors of the elves' ancient power, the ability to weave stardust into song, to calm storms with a whisper, to heal broken worlds with harmony. The Krog did not understand beauty. They only saw power to be taken, so they burned Silthera to ash and hunted the survivors across the stars. Lily had escaped with a handful of others, but over time, one by one, they had been lost, captured, killed, or vanished into the dark. Now she and Ember were alone, drifting near the edge of the Viridian Rift, a strange and unstable region of space where time bent and stars flickered in and out of existence. It was a place few dared to enter, which made it the perfect hiding spot. But peace never lasted long. The alarm chimed softly in Lily's mind. Not a sound, but a feeling like a cold finger tracing her spine. Ember lifted his head, eyes narrowing. Through the curved crystal window of the observation deck, Lily saw them. 3 Krog warships, jagged and black, their hulls scarred from countless battles. They moved like predators, silent and sure. "They found us," she whispered. Ember growled low in his throat, a sound like distant thunder. Lily placed a hand on his head. "Stay close." She raced through the ship's glowing corridors, bare feet silent on the warm floor. The Starblossom responded to her presence, lights brightening as she passed. She reached the command chamber where the song spire rose from the center of the room, a tall, spiraling crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. It was the source of the ship's power and the key to the elves' greatest weapon, the harmony. But before she could activate it, something else appeared on the view screen, a small human ship. It was battered and patched, its hull marked with rust and old scorch marks, but it flew with surprising agility. The name painted on its side, Freedom's Hope, was faded but proud. Lily had never seen this vessel before, but she recognized the human design. Humans were new to the stars, barely out of their cradle world. Yet they were bold, curious, and strangely kind. The human ship darted between the Krog destroyers like a sparrow weaving through storm clouds. Energy beams lanced through space, but the little ship twisted and rolled, dodging each blast with impossible skill. Lily watched, breath caught in her throat as the pilot executed a maneuver that should have torn the ship apart, but didn't. Then, for just a moment, the cockpit camera flickered on. Lily saw her, a young woman with warm brown eyes, messy brown hair tied back in a loose ponytail, and a determined set to her jaw. She wasn't running. She was fighting. And in that single glance, something inside Lily shifted. It wasn't fear or hope, it was something deeper, quieter. A connection. She stole his heart in one look, the alien princess's power. But it wasn't his heart. It was hers. Ember nudged her hand, snapping her back to the present. The Krog were closing in. The human ship wouldn't last long. Without thinking, Lily placed both hands on the song spire. "Ember," she said softly, "are you ready?" The dragon leapt onto the platform beside her, wings flaring. Lily closed her eyes and began to sing. Her voice was not loud, but it carried through the ship, through space, through the very fabric of reality. It was a song of stars and silence, of roots and rivers, of memory and mercy. Ember's body glowed brighter with every note, his scales blazing like molten gold. Outside, the harmony rippled through the void. The Krog ships shuddered, Their engines whined, then fell silent. Their weapons powered down. Metal groaned as if in pain, then softened, bending like clay. The harmony did not destroy, it unraveled violence, turning war into stillness. The human ship drifted free, spinning slowly toward the star blossom. Lily opened the airlock. Moments later, the young pilot stepped inside, helmet in hand, breathing hard. She looked around in awe at the glowing walls, the soft light, the strange beauty of the elven ship. Then her eyes found Lily. For a long moment, neither spoke. You saved me," the human said finally, voice rough but gentle. "You saved me first?" Lily replied, her voice like wind through leaves. The human smiled. "Name's Claire." "Lily," she said. Ember patted forward and sniffed Claire's boot. Then, to Lily's surprise, he nuzzled the human's hand. Dragons did not trust easily. This was rare. This was important. Claire laughed softly. "Guess I passed the test." Over the next several cycles, Claire stayed aboard the Star Blossom. She had been scavenging near the rift when she picked up a faint distress signal, an old elven frequency nearly lost in the static. Something about it called to her. She followed it, not knowing what she'd find, only that she couldn't ignore it. Now she learned the truth of the elves, of Silthara's fall, of the Krog's endless hunger for power. Lily in turn learned about Earth, its oceans, its cities, its music, its people. Claire showed her videos on her datapad. Children laughing, rain falling on green fields, a dog chasing a ball. Lily cried at the sight of a sunset over the Pacific. "Your world is beautiful," she whispered. "Yours was too," Claire said gently. They walked the ship's inner gardens, where bioluminescent flowers bloomed in colors that didn't exist on Earth. They shared meals, Lily's spiced root fruit and Claire's rehydrated stew. They talked late into the night cycles, their words weaving a bridge between two species, two worlds, but the peace was fragile. One evening, as they sat on the observation deck watching a nebula swirl in slow motion, Claire asked, "What are you going to do now?" Lily looked at her, then at Ember, who lay dozing in a patch of starlight. "I don't know. The Krog will keep hunting me. As long as I live, they'll chase the song. Then let them chase us together," Claire said without hesitation. Lily blinked. "You would stay? Even though it's dangerous?" Claire met her gaze. "I didn't fly through hellfire just to leave you alone in it." Before Lily could respond, the ship's warning system pulsed red in her mind. Out of fleet this time. A dreadnought. Massive, black, shaped like a fang, it emerged from the rift's shadow. Its name was known across the galaxy. The Soul Crusher, flagship of Warlord Vorgath. The very Krog who had led the assault on Silthara. The one who had watched Lily's home burn from his command throne. A voice boomed through every comm channel, deep and cruel. "Princess Lily of Silthara, you have one cycle to surrender yourself and your dragon. If you refuse, I will glass every human colony within 50 light years. Starting with Earth." Claire went pale. "He's serious." "Vorgath does not bluff," Lily said, her voice tight. "He enjoys making examples." That night Lily made a choice. She would go to him. Alone. She would trade her life for Earth's safety, but Claire wouldn't allow it. "No," she said, standing in the doorway of Lily's quarters, arms crossed. "We're not doing this your way. We're smarter than him. We just have to be." Lily looked at her, heart aching. "You don't understand. The harmony can stop him, but it needs a focus, a living conduit to carry the song across light years. Ember could do it, but it might kill him." Ember, who had been resting on the floor, lifted his head. His eyes glowed steady blue. He walked to Lily and pressed his forehead to her knee. "He's willing," Claire said softly. "But maybe there's another way." They spent the next hours planning. The song spire could amplify the harmony, but only if someone stood at its center. Someone who could channel the full power of Silthara's legacy. Lily could do it. But she'd need protection while she sang. That's where Claire came in. "I'll fly the Freedom's Hope as a distraction," Claire said. "Draw his fire. Give you time." "It's suicide," Lily whispered. "Maybe," Claire said with a small smile. "But I've got a dragon on my side now, remember?" Ember chirped in agreement. At dawn cycle, they were ready. The Soul Crusher hung in space like a wound in the sky. Lily stood in the command chamber, hands on the song spire, eyes closed. Ember coiled around the base, his body already glowing. Claire, back in her ship, gave a thumbs up through the comm screen. "See you on the other side," she said. "Come back to me," Lily replied. Then the battle began. Claire's ship shot forward, weaving through the dreadnought's defenses with reckless grace. She fired decoy flares, hacked into Krogcoms, and played old Earthrock music over open channels, just to annoy them. The Krog, confused by the chaotic tactics, fucks. Weeks passed since the fall of the Soul Crusher, and the silence that followed was both a blessing and a warning. Lily and Claire drifted through the outer arms of the Viridian Rift, repairing the Star Blossom's damaged harmonics and patching up the Freedom's Hope with salvaged parts and stubborn hope. Ember spent most days curled in sunbeams of filtered starlight, slowly regaining his strength, his scales flickering back to their usual violet gold shimmer. But peace in the cosmos was never permanent. Rumors began to trickle in through old elven relay nodes, whispers of a new Krog fleet gathering near the ashes of Silthera. Not just any fleet. This one flew under a banner no one had seen in centuries. The Black Sun of Kael'vor, the Krog High Council. They had declared Lily a threat to galactic order. Her power, they claimed, was too great to be left unchecked. A bounty had been placed on her head, enough credits to buy a small moon. Claire frowned as she read the latest transmission on her datapad. They're not giving up. Lily stood by the observation window, arms crossed. They never do, but this is different. The High Council only acts when they fear something truly powerful. You, Claire said softly. Lily turned, her silver hair catching the soft light. Or what I represent. The last voice of Silthera. The last song. Ember patted over and leaned against her leg as if to remind her she wasn't alone. Claire stood. Then we don't hide, we move. We find allies. Who would stand with us? Lily asked. The elven colonies are scattered. The humans are still new to deep space. The other species fear the Krog too much to help. Not all of them, Claire said, a spark in her eyes. Remember the Zenthari? Lily blinked. The Zenthari were an ancient race of star whale riders from the Nebula of Veils. They rarely spoke to outsiders, but centuries ago, they had traded songs with the elves. They valued harmony above all else. They might listen, Lily admitted, but the Nebula of Veils is 3 weeks away at full warp, and the Krog have eyes everywhere. Then we go quiet, Claire said. No comms, no beacons, just us and the stars, so they prepared. They stripped the Freedom's Hope of all identifying marks, coated the Star Blossom in stealth moss that absorbed radar and light, and plotted a course through forgotten jump lanes. Ember, now strong enough to fly again, would scout ahead in short bursts, his dragon senses sharper than any scanner. The journey was long and tense. They passed through asteroid fields that hummed with ghost echoes of old battles, skirted the edge of black holes that whispered in dead languages, and once hid inside the hollowed-out shell of a derelict generation ship for 2 full days while a Krog patrol swept the area. Through it all, Lily and Claire grew closer. They shared stories under dim lights. Lily of Silthera's crystal forests and moonlit dances. Claire of summer nights in Kansas, of her little brother who dreamed of being an astronaut, of the first time she flew a shuttle and nearly crashed it into a lake. One night, as they floated in zero gravity near the ship's arboretum, Claire asked, "Do you ever miss it? Your home, I mean." Lily looked at the glowing vines around them. Every day. But home isn't just a place. It's the people who make you feel safe. And right now, you and Ember are my home. Claire smiled, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them, a quiet understanding, warm and sure. Finally, they reached the Nebula of Veils. It was unlike anything Claire had ever seen. Vast clouds of purple and silver gas swirled slowly, lit from within by newborn stars. Giant Zenthari sky whales drifted through the mist, their bodies covered in bioluminescent patterns that shifted like living art. On their backs rode the Zenthari, tall, slender beings with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that held entire galaxies. Lily sent out a signal. Not a message, but a melody. The ancient greeting song of Silthera. For a long time there was no answer. Then a single whale turned. It glided toward them, its rider standing tall. The Zenthari raised a hand and a bridge of light formed between their ship and the whale's back. "They're inviting us," Lily whispered. They stepped onto the whale's back, Ember at their heels. The surface was warm and soft like moss-covered stone. The Zenthari elder, named Oris, studied them with calm eyes. "The last daughter of Silthera," Oris said, voice like wind through canyon walls. "And a human. Unexpected." "We come in peace," Lily said. "And in need." Oris nodded. "The Krog stir the void with their greed. They have already tried to enter our nebula. We turned them away, but they will return with greater force. We can stop them, Claire said, but not alone. Oris looked at Ember, then at Lily. The dragon lives. The song still breathes. Perhaps there is hope. For 3 days they stayed among the Zenthari. Lily shared the full harmony with Oris, teaching the ancient notes that could calm storms and mend broken worlds. In return, the Zenthari showed them the resonance caves, hollows in the nebula where sound became solid, where a single note could echo for 1,000 years. Here, Oris said, your song will be amplified tenfold. If the Krog come, we will meet them not with weapons, but with unity. But before they could prepare further, Ember stiffened. His head snapped toward the edge of the nebula. A low growl rumbled in his chest. They're here, Lily said. A Krog armada emerged from the dark. Dozens of ships led by a new dreadnought shaped like a coiled serpent. At its helm was not Vorgath, but someone worse. Kylthar, the high enforcer of the Krog Council, cold, calculating, and utterly without mercy. They tracked us, Claire said, fists clenched. No, Lily realized. They followed the song. They knew we'd come here. Oris raised a hand. The Zenthari riders mounted their whales, forming a silent line at the nebula's edge. The sky whales began to hum, a deep, resonant tone that vibrated through space. It's time, Oris said. Lily, Claire, and Ember returned to the Star Blossom. Claire would stay aboard the Freedom's Hope, coordinating with the Zenthari fleet using old human tactics. Decoys, feints, surprise flanks. Lily would stand in the resonance caves with Oris, channeling the combined power of elves and Zenthari. As the battle began, Claire flew like a storm. She led Krog fighters on wild chases through gas clouds, used the whale's sonar pulses to blind enemy sensors, and even lured a destroyer into a gravity well that swallowed it whole. The Zenthari, calm and precise, used sound waves to disable engines and scramble weapons. But Kylthar's dreadnought pushed forward, unshaken. Lily stood in the heart of the resonance cave, hands on the living crystal walls. Oris stood beside her, his voice joining hers in a duet older than stars. Ember circled above, ready to carry the final note. The harmony rose. It was stronger than ever, deeper, wider, filled with the sorrow of lost worlds and the hope of new ones. It rolled through the nebula like a tidal wave of light and sound. Krog ships faltered. Crews dropped to their knees, overwhelmed not by pain but by sudden unbearable empathy. They saw their own violence reflected back at them, not as strength but as emptiness. Even Kylthar hesitated. On the bridge of his dreadnought, the High Enforcer gripped his throne. For the first time in his life, he felt doubt. He saw Silthera burning not as a victory but as a waste. He saw his own hands covered in ash. The harmony did not destroy him. It made him remember he was more than a weapon. His ship powered down. The entire armada went silent. In the aftermath, Kylthar stepped onto the whale bridge alone, unarmed. I do not understand your power, he said to Lily. But I will not fight it again, Oris nodded. Wisdom begins with silence. With the Krog threat ended, not by death but by change, a new era began. The Zenthari opened their nebula to refugees. Elven survivors long in hiding emerged from the shadows. Even a few humans, drawn by rumors of peace, arrived in patched-up ships. Lily and Claire stood on the observation deck of the Star Blossom, watching the first joint council meeting unfold on a sky whale's back. What now? Claire asked. Lily smiled. Now we teach, we heal. We build something better. Ember leapt onto the railing, wings spread, catching the light of 1,000 stars. And far below, in the heart of the nebula, the first new song of the United Worlds began to rise. Months had passed since the truce in the nebula of veils, and the galaxy was changing, not with fire or conquest, but with quiet acts of trust. Elven refugees returned from hidden corners of space, drawn by word of Lily's survival and the new alliance with the Zenthari. Human outposts, once wary of alien contact, now sent envoys bearing gifts, seeds from Earth, music files, hand-drawn star charts. Even former Krog warriors, stripped of their armor and pride, wandered the new settlements seeking purpose beyond war. Lily and Claire had become symbols, unintentionally but undeniably. They lived aboard the Star Blossom, now docked permanently at the edge of the nebula where it served as both home and embassy. Ember had grown stronger, his scales brighter than ever, and he often flew escort for supply ships or played with Zenthari children who rode the smaller sky whales. But peace, even when real, is fragile. One evening, as Lily tended to the ship's heart core and Claire tinkered with the Freedom's Hope's engine, a distress call crackled through the comms, not on any official channel, but on an old Siltheran emergency frequency. Lily froze. The voice was weak, broken, but unmistakable. "Lily, if you hear this, it's me, Nora, her younger sister. Presumed dead in the fall of Silthera." Lily's hands trembled. "Play it again," she whispered. Claire replayed the message. It was short, barely 10 seconds, but it carried coordinates deep in the Krog frontier, near the dead moon of Vareth, a place known for black market labs and forbidden experiments. "It could be a trap," Claire said gently. "I know," Lily replied, "but what if it's not?" Ember nudged her leg, eyes serious. He remembered Nora too, the one who used to braid flowers into his scales, who sang lullabies when storms shook their home. They made the decision that night. They would go. Just the three of them. No fleet, no backup. Secrecy was their only shield. They left at dawn cycle. The Star Blossom, cloaked in stealth moss, slipped away from the nebula like a shadow. Claire flew the Freedom's Hope ahead as scout, her human instincts sharp for traps. Lily stayed silent most of the journey, her mind racing with memories. Nora's laugh, her stubborn streak, the way she always believed the best in everyone. The coordinates led them to Vareth, a gray, lifeless moon pockmarked with old craters and buried facilities. Scans showed no active power signatures, but Ember growled the moment they entered orbit. Something was wrong. "There's a signal underground," Claire said, pointing to a faint energy pulse beneath the largest crater. Shielded. Hidden. They landed in a dust-choked valley, engines off, lights dim. Lily wore a simple cloak, her elven features hidden. Claire carried only a sidearm and a medkit. Ember stayed close, wings tucked tight. They found the entrance behind a collapsed rock face, a rusted hatch half buried. It opened with a hiss of stale air. Inside, the corridor was dark, cold, lined with broken consoles and shattered glass. Then they heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping. They followed the sound down a winding stairwell deeper into the moon's core. Finally, they reached a sealed chamber. Through a cracked viewport, Lily saw her. Nora. She was thinner, her silver hair dull, her eyes sunken but alive. She sat on a cot, tapping a spoon against the wall in the old Siltheran rescue code. When she saw Lily, she stumbled to her feet, tears streaming down her face. The door was locked, but Ember melted the lock with a focused breath of plasma fire. Lily rushed in, pulling her sister into a tight embrace. "I thought you were gone," Lily sobbed. "They took me," Nora whispered. "Not to kill me. To study me. To learn how elves bond with dragons. They wanted to replicate it, weaponize it." Claire's blood ran cold. "Who's they?" Before Nora could answer, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. "We have to go. Now," Claire said, pulling her sidearm. They ran, Nora leaning on Lily for support. But the exit was blocked. Not by Krog soldiers, but by humans. Not Earth Alliance. Not Freedom's Hope. These were mercenaries. Corporate raiders from the outer colonies led by a woman named Dr. Elise Crow. She stepped forward, calm, wearing a white coat stained with oil and something darker. "Princess Lily," Elise said, smiling thinly. "We've been waiting for you." Lily stepped in front of Nora. "You used her to lure me." "Desperate times," Elise replied. "Your sister's biology holds the key to controlling cosmic dragons. Imagine an army of them, loyal, powerful, obedient. No more Krog. No more wars. Just order." "You don't understand," Lily said. "The bond isn't control. It's trust. It can't be forced." "We'll see," Elise said, nodding to her men. They raised weapons, not blasters, but sonic disruptors designed to sever neural links. Ember roared and leapt, knocking 2 guards down, but more poured in. Claire fired, taking out lights to plunge the corridor into darkness. "This way!" she yelled, pulling Lily and Nora toward a side tunnel. They ran through crumbling halls, the mercenaries close behind. Nora was weak but determined. "There's a lab deeper down," she gasped. "They kept specimens," Claire asked. "Dragons," Nora said, voice breaking. "Young ones, stolen, caged." Lily's heart shattered. "We can't leave them. We can't save them if we're dead," Claire snapped. But even as she said it, she knew Lily wouldn't turn back. They changed course. The lab was a nightmare. Rows of glass tubes held juvenile dragons no bigger than cats, their scales dull, their eyes empty, Wires snaked into their spines, feeding data to machines that hummed with cold efficiency. Ember let out a mournful cry. He pressed his forehead to one tube, and the young dragon inside stirred, blinking slowly. "We have to free them," Lily said. Claire set charges on the main console. "I'll buy you time. Get them out." While Lily and Nora worked to disable the restraints, Claire rigged the lab's power core to overload. Elise's voice echoed over the comms. "You're making a mistake. This technology could save billions. At what cost?" Claire shouted back. "You're torturing children." The first dragon broke free. Then another. They were weak, scared, but when they saw Ember, they huddled close to him, as if remembering something deep in their bones. Lily sang softly, a lullaby of Silthera. The song soothed them, mended their frayed minds. One by one, they lifted their heads, scales beginning to glow. Outside, Elise's forces stormed the lab. Claire fired her last rounds, then triggered the overload. "Go!" she yelled. They fled through a maintenance shaft as the lab exploded behind them, fire and light swallowing the horror below. They reached the surface just as the star blossom descended. Weapons hot, Ember carried the smallest dragons on his back, the others flying weakly beside him. They barely made it aboard before the mercenaries opened fire. Lily piloted the star blossom into orbit, heart pounding. Claire collapsed in the med bay, bleeding from a graze on her arm. Nora helped her, hands steady now, eyes clear. As they jumped to hyperspace, silence filled the ship. Later in the healing chamber, the young dragons curled around Ember, sleeping. Their scales were brighter already. "What do we do with them?" Claire asked, bandage on her arm. "We raise them," Lily said. "We teach them the old ways. Not as weapons, as guardians." Nora nodded. "I can help. I remember the songs." For days they traveled through quiet space, letting the dragons heal. Lily and Nora sang together for the first time in years, their voices weaving a harmony that filled the ship with warmth. Claire watched them, smiling, and felt something settle inside her, like she finally belonged. But the galaxy wasn't done with them. A message arrived from the Zenthari Council. The Krog High Council had fractured. Some factions wanted peace. Others, led by a warlord named Drazok, refused to accept the truce. They had seized an ancient elven archive on the ice world of Thalos, a vault containing the original song of creation, the source of all elven power. "If Drazok unlocks it," Nora said, "he won't just control dragons. He'll rewrite reality." Lily looked at Claire. "We have to stop him." Claire grinned. Was there ever any doubt? This time, they wouldn't go alone. They sent word across the Alliance. Zenthari sky whales gathered at the nebula's edge. Human pilots volunteered their ships. Even former Krug warriors, now calling themselves the Redeemed, offered their blades. And the young dragons? They flew beside Ember, small but fierce, ready to protect what was theirs. As the fleet assembled under twin moons, Lily stood on the bridge of the Star Blossom. Claire at her side, Nora behind them, and Ember perched on the console. "Ready?" Claire asked. Lily took her hand. "Always." And together they flew toward Thalos, not for war but for song. Not for power but for peace. Because the greatest strength in the universe wasn't in weapons or empires. It was in hearts that chose to care. The journey to Thalos took 6 days through frozen space lanes rarely used since the age of elven empires. The ice world hung alone at the edge of known space, wrapped in storms of diamond dust and lit by a pale blue sun that gave little warmth. Ancient ruins jutted from the glaciers like broken teeth, and deep beneath the ice lay the archive of Aelthar, the first song, the root of all elven harmony. Lily stood on the bridge of the Star Blossom, watching the planet grow larger on the view screen. Beside her, Claire checked the fleet status. Zenthari sky whales drifted in silent formation, their riders cloaked in mist. Human ships, patched and proud, held position at the flanks. Even the redeemed Krog flew in disciplined rows, their black hulls now marked with white sigils of peace. Nora entered quietly, holding a small crystal orb that pulsed with soft light. "The archive is awake," she said. "It knows we're coming." Ember, now flanked by 5 young dragons, each named for a lost elven star, lifted his head from the console. His eyes glowed steady blue. He sensed danger but also hope. "Drazok won't let us walk in," Claire said, arms crossed. "He's dug in deep. Sensors show heavy shielding, automated turrets, and something bigger buried under the main spire." "The song of creation," Lily whispered. If he forces it to obey, he could unmake entire worlds with a single note. Then we don't let him sing, Nora said firmly. The plan was simple but dangerous. The fleet would create a diversion. Xanthari whales humming low-frequency pulses to disrupt the ice shields. Human ships launching decoy drones to draw fire. The redeemed Krog storming the outer gates as a show of force, while chaos reigned. Lily, Claire, Nora, and the dragons would slip in through an old service tunnel beneath the glacier, a path only elves knew. They suited up in thermal gear woven with elven thread that repelled cold and dampened sound. Ember led the way, his heat melting the ice just enough to pass. The tunnel sloped downward for miles, walls glittering with frozen starlight trapped centuries ago. Halfway down, Nora stopped. Listen. A faint hum vibrated through the ice, not mechanical but alive. The archive was singing, not in joy but in pain. Drazok was already inside trying to force the song to bend to his will. He's hurting it, Lily said, eyes wide with sorrow. They moved faster. At the tunnel's end, they emerged into a vast cavern lit by glowing crystals. In the center rose the archive spire, a spiral of living quartz that pulsed like a heartbeat. And there, standing before it with hands pressed to its surface, was Drazok. He was taller than other Krog, his armor fused to his skin, eyes burning with red fire. When he turned, his voice cracked like splitting stone. Princess Lily, I knew you would come. You always protect what is weak. The song isn't yours to take, Lily said, stepping forward. Power belongs to those strong enough to seize it, Drazok sneered. Your people hid it away like cowards. I will use it to forge a new order. No more chaos, no more weakness. He slammed his fist against the spire. The crystal shrieked. Cracks spread through the floor. The young dragons whimpered, pressing close to Ember. Claire raised her pulse pistol. You're not getting away with this, Drazok laughed. You think your little toys can stop me? He gestured, and the ice wall split open, revealing hidden drones. Krog war machines shaped like scorpions, their tails crackling with energy. Go, Lily said to Claire. Protect the others. I have to reach the spire. Claire hesitated, then nodded. Don't die on me. She and Nora fell back, firing at the drones while the young dragons darted in, using their small size to disable joints and sensors. Ember stayed with Lily. Wings flared, ready to shield her. Lily ran toward the spire, dodging falling ice and energy blasts. Drazok met her halfway, grabbing her by the throat. You are the last true singer. If I break you, the song dies with you. But Lily didn't fight. She closed her eyes and began to sing, not a battle cry, not a weapon, a lullaby, the same one she used to calm Ember as a hatchling, the same one her mother sang when storms shook Silthera. The spire responded instantly. Light flared, pure and white. Drazok screamed as the song flooded his mind, not with force but with truth. He saw his own past. A child beaten for showing mercy. A warrior praised only for cruelty. A life built on fear. For the first time, he felt shame. His grip loosened. Lily dropped to her knees, gasping, but kept singing. Outside, the battle shifted. The Xanthari whales rose higher, their song joining Lily's. The human ship ceased fire. Even the redeemed Krog lowered their weapons. The entire fleet, enemies and allies alike, stood in silence as the harmony washed over Thalos. Deep in the cavern, Drazok fell to his knees. Tears, real human tears, cut through the grime on his face. I didn't know it could feel like this, he whispered. The archive spire glowed brighter. The cracks in the ice began to heal. The young dragons lifted their heads and joined the song, their voices small but clear. When it was over, Drazok stood slowly. He removed his armor piece by piece until only the scarred Krog beneath remained. I will not lead armies again, he said. But if you will have me, I will guard this place. As penance, Lily nodded. The archive needs a keeper, someone who understands both pain and peace. Above, the storm over Thalos broke. Sunlight, real warm sunlight, touched the ice for the first time in millennia. In the days that followed, the Alliance gathered in the cavern. The Xanthari elders declared Thalos a sanctuary world. The humans offered to build a research outpost, not to study the song but to learn from it. The redeemed Krog, now led by Drazok, pledged to protect the archive with their lives. Lily, Claire, and Nora stood together on a high ridge, watching the work begin below. What now? Claire asked, hands in her pockets. Nora smiled. We rebuild the Elven Council, not as rulers but as teachers. Lily looked at Claire. And you? Claire shrugged, but her eyes were soft. I think my ship's seen enough action. Maybe it's time to plant some roots if you'll have me. Lily took her hand. I've wanted you to stay since the first time I saw you flying through hellfire. Ember butted his head against Claire's leg, then nuzzled the youngest dragon, a tiny female named Lyra, who chirped happily. Back aboard the Star Blossom that night, they held a quiet ceremony. Not with crowns or titles, but with song. Lily, Nora, and the dragons sang the renewal chant, and Claire added a human folk tune she remembered from Kansas. The ship's walls glowed in response, as if welcoming her as one of its own. Weeks later, the first school opened on Thalos, part elven archive, part human classroom, part Zenthari meditation hall. Children of all species came to learn how to listen, how to heal, how to sing even when afraid. Lily taught the old harmonies. Claire taught navigation and engineering. Nora cared for the young dragons, helping them bond with worthy students. Ember, now called Elder Ember by the children, patrolled the skies with quiet pride. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the ice, Lily and Claire walked along the glacier's edge. Do you ever miss Earth? Lily asked. Sometimes, Claire said, but home isn't a planet. It's the people who make you feel like you belong. Lily leaned her head on Claire's shoulder. I'm glad you stayed. Me too, Claire whispered. Far above, the stars watched in silence. But for the first time in a long time, the silence was not empty. It was full of song. And in that song, the galaxy found its future, not in conquest, but in connection. Not in power, but in peace. The end of one story, the beginning of many. A year had passed since the founding of the Thalos Sanctuary, and the School of Harmony had grown beyond anyone's dreams. Students from a dozen species now lived and learned beneath the ice and stars. Human children practiced elven breathing songs. Zenthari youths taught dragon whispering. And even young Krog, raised in peace, learned to mend instead of break. The archive of Aelthar no longer hummed in pain. It sang with joy. Lily, Claire, and Nora had settled into a quiet rhythm. Lily taught the core harmonies, her voice guiding students through meditations that calmed storms and healed wounds. Claire ran the engineering wing, turning old warship parts into solar heaters and water purifiers. Nora cared for the dragons, now a flock of 12, each bonded to a student who had proven their heart was true. Ember, older and wiser, rarely left Lily's side, but lately he had been restless. He would stare into the deep ice caves beneath the school, ears twitching, tail flicking like he heard something no one else could. One night, during a blizzard that turned the world white, Ember let out a low, urgent growl. Lily woke instantly. She followed him to the edge of the glacier, where the ice was thinnest. Beneath the surface, something pulsed, a faint golden light moving slowly. What is it? Claire asked, pulling on her coat as she joined them. I don't know, Lily said, but it's alive. Nora arrived with a scanner. It's not a machine, not a creature we know. It's singing, in a language older than Silthera. They called Drazok, now the archive's guardian. He came with thermal drills and silent reverence. Together they melted a path deep into the glacier, following the light. What they found took their breath away. Embedded in the ice was a seed, not a plant seed, but a cosmic one, about the size of a human heart, made of swirling stardust and solidified song. Veins of gold and violet pulsed within it, and when Lily placed her hand near it, warmth spread through her bones. It's a world seed, Nora whispered, eyes wide. The elves wrote of them in the oldest texts. They were used to grow new homeworlds when old ones died. Silthera was born from one, Lily said, voice trembling. This is a sister to our home. But the seed was dormant, wounded. It needed a song to awaken. They brought it to the heart chamber of the archive, placing it on a pedestal of living crystal. For 3 days, Lily, Nora, and the student dragons sang the awakening chant. Claire monitored its energy levels while Drazok stood guard, his presence a silent vow. On the 4th morning, the seed cracked open. Light poured out, not blinding, but gentle like sunrise after a long night. From the center rose a sapling, no taller than a child, its leaves made of shimmering mist, its roots glowing with soft fire. The archive sang louder. The dragons bowed their heads. Even the ice outside seemed to lean in. It's choosing a place to grow, Nora realized. But there was a problem. World seeds needed a stable star, clean water, and a planet with a living core. Thalos was too cold, too dead. They would have to move it. Earth, Claire said suddenly. My home. It's green, it's warm, and it's ready for wonders. Lily looked at her. You'd bring this here? To your world.
Why not?
Claire smiled. Earth could use a little magic, so they prepared. The star blossom was refitted to carry the seed in a cradle of harmonic crystal. The Freedom's Hope would scout the root. Ember and the dragon flock would shield it from cosmic radiation. And a small group of students, 2 humans, 1 Xanthari, and a young Krog named Kale, would go with them to help plant the new world. The journey back to human space was peaceful. They passed through regions once choked with war, now quiet with truce. Old Krog outposts flew white flags. Human colonies shared supplies with elven traders. The galaxy was healing. When they reached the Sol system, Earth hung blue and green against the black, a jewel wrapped in clouds. Claire's voice caught as she guided the star blossom through orbit. "Welcome home," she whispered. They chose a valley in the Pacific Northwest, remote, lush, and untouched. With permission from Earth's Council, granted after much debate and one very convincing dragon demonstration, they landed in a clearing ringed by ancient trees. The planting ceremony drew crowds. Not just humans, but delegates from every allied species. Drazok stood in the back, head bowed. The Xanthari whales circled high above, humming blessings. Lily, Claire, and Nora carried the sapling to the center of the clearing. The students dug the hole with their hands, mixing earth with stardust from Silthera. As the roots touched soil, Lily began to sing. Not alone. Claire joined her, voice rough but true. Nora added harmony. The dragon sang in tones no human ear could fully hear. Even the trees seemed to sway in time. The sapling grew, not slowly but steadily, branches reaching for the sky, leaves unfurling into shapes that shifted with the wind. Flowers bloomed in colors that didn't exist before. The air grew sweeter, the light softer. By nightfall it stood 20 feet tall, its trunk glowing faintly, its canopy humming with life. "What do we call it?" asked Kale, the young Krog, eyes wide with wonder. Lily looked at Claire. "What do you think?" Claire smiled. "How about Hope's Grove?" Everyone agreed. In the weeks that followed, a new school began to rise around the tree, part earth cabin, part elven spire, part Xanthari nest. Humans and elves built side by side. Dragons played with dogs. Children of all kinds learned to speak each other's languages. Lily and Claire built a small house at the edge of the grove, with a porch that faced the tree. Ember slept on the roof, keeping watch. One evening, as fireflies danced among the glowing leaves, Claire turned to Lily. "Do you think Silthera would be proud?" Lily leaned against her. "I think she'd say we did more than rebuild. We made something new." Nora joined them, holding a cup of spiced tea. "The seed wasn't just a second chance for us. It was a gift to Earth, to everyone, and it was true. The grove didn't just grow, it gave. Its fruit healed sickness. Its shade calmed troubled minds. Its song reached even the cities, quieting anger, sparking kindness. But peace, even when rooted deep, must still be tended." Rumors came of a splinter group, the true Krog, who refused the truce. They called Drazok a traitor and sought to destroy the grove, calling it an abomination. They gathered in the outer colonies, building weapons from stolen tech. When the news reached Thalos, Drazok didn't hesitate. "I will face them," he said. Not as a warlord, as a guardian. Lily, Claire, and the students prepared to stand with him. But before they could leave, something unexpected happened. The grove's tree pulsed with light. A single leaf drifted down, landing in Lily's palm. As she touched it, a vision came, not of war, but of a Krog child alone in a ruined station crying in the dark. "They're not all monsters," Lily said softly. "Some are just lost." So they changed their plan. Instead of flying to battle, they sent an invitation. Not with weapons, but with song. The grove's melody was broadcast across all channels, a lullaby of safety, of belonging. Weeks passed. Then one night a single ship appeared over the grove. Not a warship, a battered freighter. From it stepped a Krog woman holding the hand of a small child. She dropped her weapons at the tree's roots and knelt. "We heard the song," she said, voice breaking. "We didn't know we could come home." Lily helped her up. "Everyone is welcome here." More came after that. Not armies, families, survivors, seekers. The true Krog faded not by force, but by choice, because something better had been offered. Years later, the grove stood tall, its branches sheltering a village where no one was turned away. Lily still taught, Claire still fixed engines and told stories of flying through hellfire. Nora raised a new generation of dragons. And Ember? He slept in the sun, old and content, knowing his work was done. The galaxy was still vast, still full of unknowns. But in one small valley on Earth, under a tree born of stardust and song, a new kind of future grew, rooted not in fear, but in love. And sometimes, that was enough to change everything.